Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to go over a new piece of gear that I made. It's a DIY light mat modeled after the Intellytech Mega LiteCloth. I had this idea originally when I was building another light for a tutorial. Leave the link in the description. But it was for a balloon light that would be filled up with helium. The only problem with that build is at the time it was during COVID and helium was pretty much out of stock everywhere. So I quickly abandoned that idea, but I still use a lot of the pieces that were used in that tutorial. So I'll leave a link down below for that. So let's get started in the build. Like I said before, I use a lot of the same pieces that were in the Shutterstock tutorial. And so I'll just briefly go over the pieces with the little extra ones that I bought here and there. And so to start off, I had already owned the glow reflector panel and sunscreen kit. I bought it off Amazon because it was a very affordable price. It had decent reviews and I was looking for a portable yet sturdy way to bounce light. I was using the 5-in-1 reflectors for a while, but those are real flimsy, especially when there's high wind. But I also didn't want to go to like a Home Depot and get some of that beadboard or whatever it's called, because that doesn't pack down as easy. And so I found this frame to be a good in-between and still get the job done while being portable. And this is gonna act as the frame for our light. So next on the list is the quad row LED strip lights. They're 24 volts, have a high CRI value of 95, and they come in at a 6,000 Kelvin. I've already got these lights in and done some testing on my color and light meter, but we'll go over that in a later segment. But for now, just know they're pretty true to the specs that they have here. We're gonna need 2 of these at $89.98 a piece. But if I could do this build again, I would recommend doing one at 6,000 Kelvin and buying another strip at a 3,200 Kelvin tungsten color. That way I would be able to have a bi-color panel. And that's going to go a long way for its flexibility. So that's just one thing that I would change. If you're going to be building it, I would also do it that way. So keep that in mind. Next on the list, I bought the Downlux waterproof frosted shower curtain liner, but I did pick the black version. And this is going to be the flexible material that we stick our LED strips to. And I invested in 2 shower curtains for this build because I used the little O-rings that you would mount to the shower rod as a way of mounting to the rods of the glow reflector stand. Another piece that I had also bought from the Shutterstock tutorial is the Meanwell LRS 350 24 DC switching power supply. This you can find on Amazon. They're going for about $57.50 right now. I bought 2 of these, one for each strip of LED lights. Now, if I could go back and do this again, I would find a more powerful power supply and I would just use one, so that way I'm not having 2 separate cords to plug in. Now, if you're going to make this a bi-color panel, I would recommend going ahead and buying 2 of these like I did, and that way you can have individual control over each of the lights. A couple extra things you're going to need are power supply cables. I use 2 of them because I have 2 power supplies, but if you're using one bigger power supply, you're just going to need 1. Piece of gear I also got from the Shutterstock tutorial is some lamp cord. Didn't get this on Amazon. I actually went to my local Home Depot. It was around 20 bucks. Another piece of kit that I got for this light is the 6-inch bungee cord. And these are used for camping usually, but for this build, we're gonna use it to mount the light to the glow reflector stand. And then I also had a soldering iron with some solder, a hot glue gun, a couple pieces of cardboard, and a couple clamps to help me build it. But all of these pieces will be listed down below if you're thinking of building this light yourself. And so while building this thing, I cut the LED strips lengthwise so that it would be a straight on fit. If you follow the Shutterstock tutorial, he wraps them around and there was like this bend in the LEDs that I did not like. Now, if you're not really adept with electronics, I would recommend taking this route. You want to do this in a way where there's going to be space to put a piece of cardboard over your solder points and then fold over your shower curtain so that those points are protected and they never bend. Now, if you're doing this the bicolor route, you're gonna have to stagger your light strips so that one is 6,000 Kelvin and then it's followed by the 3200, followed by the 6,000, and be very mindful to separate the wirings of the 3200s with the 6,000s. Make sure you keep those separate. So after lining up the LED strips, soldering them all together, hooking it up to the power supply and plugging that in, if you did everything correctly, it should all light up. I'm not going too much into depth on how to do that because the Shutterstock tutorial has that already. You can also see that one set of LED strips are a lot lower than the other, and then that is my fault because when I was cutting the strips and laying them down, one side got reversed. And I didn't catch that until I plugged it up and it was not working. And so I had to go back and try to take off the hot glue that I put on there. And it was just a big mess. So I decided to cut it down and then just start fresh from there. And so that's why you see that. But as far as a use case, when you throw diffusion over it, it still is an even, nice spread of light. And I don't notice that in camera. Now, the last finishing touch that I put on this is you can see around the light, I have extra shower curtain O-rings. All I did was just go around and I super glued the little tabs around the light. And so that's everything you're gonna need in order to build this light. So this light is really close to an Intellytech Mega LiteCloth. Now, while that light is about $1,700, everything here with the little arm grease is gonna come out to a fraction of that. If you do the bicolor version of this light, I think that's where you're really winning, because having a soft panel light that's just one color is a little bit limiting. While I do still get a lot of use out of it, you can throw this up on any stand because it doesn't weigh much. And then you can also use it in very tight environments and small spaces because it's essentially a light that's built into the diffusion. And so you're getting pretty much the same results with this DIY build. With the glow reflector, you're getting a similar stand and setup time. And then you're also getting diffusion that you can wrap that comes with the glow reflector. All right, while editing this video, I realized I didn't go over the color information and the lux of the light. And so here it is at 3 meters. I measured the light twice. I did one with the bedsheet diffusion, and 2, I did one with the regular glow diffusion over the light. And these are the results. So with the bedsheet diffusion at 3 feet, we're getting 5720 Kelvin color temperature. And then unfortunately, we are getting a 2 out of 50 green shift. So we are getting a slight green shift. And then the lux with the double diffusion is coming in at 1473, which is not too bad. But if we look at the chromaticity, we can see the dot is right on the curve, which means that this is very true white color for what it's rated at. And so if I take a reading of this light at 24 frames, shutter angle at 180, at ISO 400, the aperture would have to be at a 5.6 at 3 feet. Now metering at 3 feet with the glow reflector diffusion, I'm getting a 4081 lux at 3 feet, but I'm also getting a cooler light at 5990 Kelvin, and we still get the 2 out of 50 green shift, which is not too bad. And then once we look at the chromaticity again, we can see that that dot is still right on that line, which is giving us a almost perfect white light source. And then once again, with the camera settings at 24 frames per second, shutter angle 180, ISO 400, we're gonna have to set our aperture at 3 feet to an f10 in order to get exposure. Some of the things that I found are a little bit more challenging is the fact that this light is not bicolor. If you decide to build this light, I think the bicolor version is a no-brainer. If I could go back, I would go ahead and do it that way as well. Now, the glow diffusion, it could be a little bit better, to be honest. It's a little thin for my liking. And so what I often do is just throw another layer of diffusion. And with the frame, the good thing about that is it's so simple to just clip some diffusion to it. Another downside to the DIY version of this is that I have not been able to find a grid that will fit really well over this that's affordable. So if there's anybody that knows of a solution for this, go ahead and leave that in the comments, because that's something I'm definitely looking for. It's lighter than a feather. I mean, this thing weighs nothing to carry around. In the Intellytech, it folds down a little bit smaller. It's a little bit easier to use. Honestly, for the trade-off and ease of use, I'm not sure that I'm willing to spend, you know, an extra $1,400, $1,300 to get the Intellytech Lite. So that's it for this video, guys. If you're still watching, I want to say thank you. I just started this YouTube and I'm just kind of shocked at the support and, you know, the community that we're starting to build. You know, who would ever thought that little old me with the camera would be able to make a video that can actually help somebody. So if this video helped you, go ahead and leave a like. If you have any other comments, leave them down below. And yeah, till next time, thanks.